I think one thing what we miss with context, even if it comes from a good place, is when we try to tell our kids not to do something based on a warped bad experience that we had.
Ooh.
Right?
Ooh.
And this is what controversial, but don't miss the message, argue the metaphor. It's a post I made, but it's relevant now.
Yeah.
So imagine if your first time drinking,
mm-hmm.
you got blasted.
Right.
You had no idea what you were doing. Maybe somebody was giving you something. Maybe somebody slipped you something. But you had a terrible experience and you never drank again in your life, right?
Right.
1 for 1, 100% of your experiences were terrible.
Right.
You grow up and tell your children, alcohol is bad.
Correct.
Alcohol is nasty, is this, is this, is this, all of these things, is all of these things. It's all of these things, and it's bad, it's terrible. And the kid gets kind of frightened into not drinking, which could be a benefit. Right? I'm not saying if you don't drink, you're wrong. If you drink, you're right. I'm not saying that. I'm just, again, metaphor. Right. At some point, the child gets away from the parent that had that experience and they get around other people that had different experience.
Right.
Maybe they have a glass of wine.
Yep.
Go home, wake up, everything's fine. Why my mom lied to me like that? My mom lied to me all these years about alcohol, or insert sex, or insert whatever the thing is that rubs you the wrong way in a very, I can't think of another word other than warp, a very unlikely manner. Like you had a 1 out of a 1 million experience, and now that's what you're projecting onto your child. Absolutely. So again, insert whatever it is, whether whatever, but whether it becomes an immediate issue with your child or not, now that child is thinking, man, why wouldn't they just tell me the truth about that?
Please.
What else?
What else did you lie to me about?
What else did you lie to me about? And now I'm thinking, the child is thinking that they don't really trust your relationship to bring something to you that might be life and death that they're going through because they know you gave them some bad information.
They tried to count me out. I'ma gon' count me in. Fill up my bank account. Now I got something to spend.
Welcome to the Dear Son Show. Intro is even shorter. I'm D. Johns. I got my guy,
James Johnson.
This is where we have transparent conversations about life through the lens of fatherhood. So if you are a man or you know a man, this conversation is for you. Nobody's left out. Back to back. You may have seen us in this in this wardrobe just to the last episode. But what we decided was we in the groove, man. We're gonna keep the conversation going because it's all about intentionality and consistency. I've been so tired of hearing just be consistent. Don't be consistently bad.
Yeah.
Consistently work to improve on your product. And this is our product. How you feeling, brother?
I feel good.
Yeah, from 30 minutes ago.
Listen, 30 minutes ago versus now. Levels just keep going up. Elevate.
Yeah. We got into the last conversation. If you didn't catch the last conversation, highly, highly recommend that you listen to it all the way through.
Yeah.
And if you've already done that, do it again. Because why not?
You missed something.
Because why not? Boy, that was time was had.
Pressure on the way.
A time was had. We had to go ahead and record again before our wives see the last episode. Make sure we still allowed to record without.
You're out late. Stay out. Don't go in yet. You're already in trouble. Run it.
Yeah. Throw another one.
Yeah.
It was in all sincerity, it was a very transparent episode. Hopefully you got something out of the first, second, third, fourth, 15th time you listen to it, and start them conversations in your house because they are necessary. We were talking about fatherhood versus being a husband. So
oh yeah,
even if you're not married, take some cues from our experience,
Please.
before you run the same play to the wrong side of the field.
Yeah.
Like we did in some instances. Like, share, subscribe, all of the above, all of the things. We appreciate. Oh, what I should have done last episode at the time of this recording. Ghana, Mali, the Bahamas, Malawi, and one more. We popped up on Australia, we popped up on Australia as well. But for parenting, we in there. Top 10 in a few of those markets. Africa 2024.
Yeah.
I know I said that we were probably at dinner somewhere. I'm dead serious.
Dead serious.
Africa 2024.
Watch this.
Africa 2024.
Yep.
At least 2 countries. I'm focused on, well, I shouldn't even say. I'm focused on Africa. I was about to play myself out of a market.
Right.
We appreciate y'all, man. I am my corporate background was focused on federal government contracts that did work throughout Africa. So because of that, I've become interested in it.
Yes.
So with or without this podcast, I always wanted to take my family to Africa.
Yep.
Several countries that people say Africa like it's one country. I'm not saying that, but just various. I think West Africa will be first. I'll say that. I think West Africa will be first. Tanzania, that was the other country. It's not Tanzania. It's Tanzania. At least that's what the people there say.
Yeah. Right.
So I've heard. But yeah, Africa 2024. Sow a seed if you want to. That's another thing. I don't say that enough. There's opportunity to sow a seed if you think there's value in this podcast, this platform. Everything is self-funded right now.
That's right.
But the movement and the message needs to continue throughout the globe. So if you're interested, if you're available, please don't overextend yourself by any stretch. But if you are led to make an investment, it should be popping up like right here because technology.
Yeah. On
the website, you can donate. And we appreciate that. And there's also some limited merch, shirts, sweatshirts. So you don't have to just give and not get something. We'll take it either way. So appreciate you for considering that. And maybe this is the 15th time you watched it and it impressed you. We appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
What we talking about on this episode, my brother?
Man, trying to guide our youth. And interesting enough, some of our old heads, our generation, could benefit from this topic as well. The topic is, tell me who you are, not what you do. Who you are, not what you do. If I say, hey, how are you? How you doing? I'm James. Good to meet you.
Yeah.
And the first thing out of your mouth is, how you doing, man? I'm the president over at, whoa.
Yeah.
How you doing, president of so-and-so? What's your name?
I was that guy. I wasn't introducing it that early in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But if they said what they do,
right,
you gonna get this. you gonna get this VP slug. You definitely gonna get this VP slug because yes, and it wasn't out of a we're saying it in jest. It wasn't out of a like a vanity thing.
Right.
I just thought people would take me serious.
Right.
Because they would lead with it, and I assumed that they assumed that I couldn't be, that I wasn't what I was.
Yeah.
And who's right in that situation? I don't know.
But I didn't lose.
That's a good one, man, because what's starting to eat me now is my kids were watching, right? And even is that how I painted myself to them,
right, before
fatherhood,
right?
Like, or as important as being a father is what I do. So
yeah,
I think it's going to be a good one, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
A little bit lighter than the last one, hopefully.
A little bit
just
lighter.
A
tad, because we could poke fun at some things we're doing culturally right now, like, and to expand our thought process with this topic. Think about this next generation that's under us. It's cool now to jump on social media and have a stack of cash. You know, they answering the telephone, the money telephone or whatever. I don't know what that is when they hold a stack of cash up to their ear. I'm telling on myself with my age, but you know, standing in a pile of money, or you got the money going down your arm from your shoulder to the palm of your hand. Yep. That's another form of your broadcasting what you do.
Right.
You're trying to paint a picture of I do something to be successful. You understand? As opposed to who am I? So now you may be popular. You might get your likes up. You might get your followers up. But if you're not really even selling a product, you're not in marketing, you don't really have a business that you're promoting or whatever the case.
Yeah.
Even if you do, there's a lane for that. There's a reason for that. There's a purpose. But if you're saying, hey, this is how I meet people on a personal standpoint, there's a lot of people right now that give internet dating a shot. And guess what they're doing? The first thing out of their mouth, oh, I'm independent. I work here. I make this. I own this. I have this many degrees.
Wow.
Good for you.
Yeah.
But I still don't know who you are.
Well, you just said a lot in the first 45 seconds. We talked about the kids. And I want to stay there for a second about the money pose and all that. I know where they get it from. And I know what resonated with me, resonated with us. Even in different geographic locations, different things culturally resonated with different pockets throughout, I would imagine, throughout the world.
Right.
So I can't, I'm the old, like you said, I'm the old head now that's, why you doing that? When I was doing an equivalent thing, just not that. Right?
Of my time, right.
Yeah,
right.
The thing of our time.
Right.
But where I think is a higher probability with this generation is that they may actually be confused, right? So our era, we might have called it fronting, being something that you're not.
Absolutely did.
The pace of information now telling kids what they are or what is cool, and they try to identify what we had the conversation about identify with or identify as, and another piece of content. I don't know if they're front or they just confused.
If you watch long enough and pay attention to the culture as a whole, I think it's given the energy of confusion.
Yeah.
Because like you said, in our era, it was okay to call somebody out and say, man, you fronting.
Yeah.
You're stunting. You don't have that. You're not doing that. Whereas now, if you don't have it to stunt and fake, oh, you broke. Oh, you worthless. Oh, your value is not at the same level of the value we perceive this person to have. You understand? Because whether he's faking or not, he at least has it to fake with. He got that little bit from somewhere. It could be a stack of $1 bills.
Couple hundos on the end.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't even have 200 $1 bills to do what he doing. So you're even lower than him as opposed to, but that's not. So what do you do?
That's wild, man, because it makes me, of course, orient the people as we do on most episodes, our family dynamics. I have 3 girls, 2 boys. Girl, boy. Today they are 19, 17, 15, 9, and 8. And they're all online.
All of them.
All online. And it's, telling them myself, as has been the story. We can't keep up with the pace of information that's available to them.
No.
Right? And it's sometimes taking those days off, you get 3 weeks behind when you could have been more actively parenting versus leaving them to their own devices and the throes of the internet. Say all that to say, I have to look at myself to see if how much of their growth or maturity am I assuming versus am I impacting?
Right.
Right. Which impacts the whole, number one, watching them watching me as I act in the world.
Yeah.
And then to what degree do I explain those actions, those interactions, to give them context as to why maybe this was my tone in this scenario versus that scenario.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. My youngest kids, it's a very fine line. It's a very dangerous ground celebrating how technologically advanced they are.
Right. Ooh.
Especially if you're not keeping up with it, because they can get into some rooms that they can't get out of.
Correct.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's something that since COVID, give me that. Give me your what you doing?
Let me see what you're doing.
Why when I come in your room you twitching all like what are you doing?
Right.
And it's not to yell at them, but it's hey, this could be dangerous. Like and you don't even recognize it. But again, pulling it back to the center is like all of that stuff is shaping what they believe themselves to be or what's acceptable and all of that.
Absolutely. Which brings up another COVID term. Interesting you say that. We started talking about this topic, and I know it's still early in the conversation, and we can still linger on that a little bit, but I would like to pivot a little bit into, we had another topic of discussion that it keeps ringing as I hear you say some of the things you just said, which is very relevant right now. Do you feel like the internet is replacing or hindering or watering down, whatever you want to call it, fatherhood/parenthood? What is the internet doing for parenthood? How is the internet affecting parenthood as far as who you have in your mind that you would like your child to be versus who your child is actually becoming, largely because of their level of involvement with social media, with the internet, with gaming, with, you understand, these platforms. Like, I'll start with that. My youngest, well, not even the youngest, the step above, my 7-year-old, I had noticed, to your point about you twitching when I walk in the room, he had begun to take his tablet and sit on the backside of one of our breakfast tables. Mm-hmm. We have a breakfast table in the kitchen area. I almost said something that a friend of mine I know would jokingly. In the kitchen area, there's a breakfast table where you can sit behind the table, and behind you is the window. Right. You understand? So now nobody can walk up behind you, and nobody can see what's on your screen. The back of the tablet is to the world, and the only thing behind you, smart. That's brilliant. Yeah. But that's also slick. Give it to me. What are you doing? Because there's a list of sites I don't want you on. There's a list of games I don't want you involving yourself in. And every time you catch him, that's what he's doing. He's watching certain YouTube channels we don't want him to watch, et cetera, et cetera. You have the parenting tools on there to where they can't bypass it. But now some of these platforms have caught on that the parents are blocking their views, in essence, blocking their subscribers, in essence, blocking their money.
Their money.
So now they're finding ways to help and show and teach these young kids, because they're so savvy, they're so tech savvy, how to circumvent, how to go around the parental block. So now this site, okay, you can't get there, but you can come here. It's a watered down version. Yeah. But we're still hitting you with what you like that your parents are blocking. That's dangerous. That's reckless.
Yeah. And even some of the ones where, like, I feel like I vetted, but not really, because I don't want to sit there and watch all of it.
Right. Oof.
They sit there and watch. I wish my kids would watch our podcast like they
open to close.
For real. Yeah, I need to get them. I need to get them watching this content like that. Right. But they'll sneak it in because maybe you put out 50 solid episodes, and then that one, the kid's gonna see the 51st episode. You know what I mean? But meanwhile, you've already written it off as not so damaging. Because of what you skimmed through. Sounds crazy now, but I'm on social media every day now because this is a part of the mission, it's a part of income strategy, it's a part of all of that. But initially, like, it took me a while to get on Facebook.
Right.
I got on Facebook probably in 2009. I don't know when it started, but when I came back from Iraq, I remember that timestamp. I got on Facebook. I got on IG in 2015 when we moved internationally because my oldest daughter had an account.
Right.
Which was cleared through my wife. it's kind of a callback to last episode. Yeah, call back to the last episode. It wasn't static, but I was like, oh, when we got overseas, like we didn't have American channels to a large degree, like dedicated. You would see shows sprinkled throughout different, but it wasn't like you had NBC, ABC, like the staples that we're familiar with. So they started watching a lot of YouTube. And they were identifying with these families. Like it was a whole lot of vlogs, and it wasn't anything malicious or anything like that. But I was like, man, this thing really has them if it wants them.
Yes. That's
why I got into it. Right. I was like, if I can't outpace it, let me be an option in their view, and then maybe that's a way that we can connect. So we started like the family vlog and all of that.
Right.
But my point is I got on out of safety concerns because my kids were getting on it.
Absolutely.
And now it's a way of life, and I mean, I guess I could have them not be on it, the youngest ones, but the danger there is if you try to address a problem by not addressing the problem,
you're intensifying.
The problem intensifies, and then when they get of age, it's all of this built up angst of, woo, let me do it now. I can't wait to see what this feels like and what this tastes like and all of that. So, yeah. And again, that's just my parenting approach, which is way different than how I was parented. But it's a fine line. It's a double dutch.
Right.
Like how far do you go? And what do you like? Not necessarily how far do you go, but along the way, how are you adjusting? Because social media is not going anywhere, man.
Right. So you have to be mindful of trying to adjust in real time on the fly, because by the time you catch up, you're behind again. Yep. I promise you. So again, the shock I had when I found out one of my older sons, like I got 1,000 sons, but like my oldest son was on social media. I didn't know he had such a presence.
Right.
Had no idea. This quiet, reserved dude. But now you have you're on IG and you on. I'm like, what's this? And stumbled across it. Saw it on his phone. Oh, I do periodic checks. Yeah. I do. Let me see your phone. Yeah. More so my wife than me. I only started doing it as a joke because I found out she was doing it. And the joke we had about last episode, you're not going to outparent me.
Right.
Let me see your phone too, son. I care. I do, but I don't.
I'm working a double shift.
Right.
Double parenting. Right.
So that's how I found out. So you better at least know how to navigate.
Yeah.
So if you need to go run into something or see something or check something out, just to stay in tune. It's not that whole invasion of privacy with a child. Get your own place, get your own bills, yeah. And I respect your privacy.
Yeah, like that, pretty much.
Right.
You more than welcome to do anything in the room that you own.
Yeah, because it's free reign in here. Oh yeah.
If I choose to live in your room, that's where we at right now.
Scoot over, my boy. Yeah. Excuse me. I like the view from your room better.
But I hate moving more. So I'm gonna let you live.
Yeah.
Fun fact, man, when I found, like, my son changes his name all the time, and it's not to hide, but like he'll forget. I'll be like, because he's on episodes now. I'm like, I want to tag him, like, son, what's your name? But when I first saw him on there, I was like, this Joe got more followers than me.
Listen, killing me.
Not now. I mean, let's be clear. hey guys.
Yeah.
Guys, we 5K alert at the time of this recording. And I know that's laughable.
Yeah.
But nah, it was I just pros and cons as we keep dancing. Yeah. Dancing on the topic, pros and cons of it. Like, I don't wish that we had it in high school. I really don't. I mean, and it's for reasons that I don't promote now as a father.
Yeah.
But because I experienced them, I'm acutely aware of what the possibilities are out there. Yeah. So try it with somebody else.
I couldn't have had it.
Yeah.
We could not have had the level of exposure in our era that these kids have now. I promise you.
No.
Because especially in the little city I was in, and I say that now, I know my hometown people are going to be offended, but you understand, once we get out and see some other things, you couldn't tell me I didn't grow up in a metropolis. You couldn't.
Orient the people.
Shreveport, Louisiana. You couldn't tell me I don't know, 100,000 people.
Yeah.
It wasn't a metropolis.
Yeah.
But listen, got out and got some traveling in and was like, yeah. So now I'm not so offended when people say, you country. I hear it in your voice.
Yeah. Boy. This real time telling.
Yeah.
And that's the how to frame this. Children, young adults get into mischief.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Some at 15, some at 50, right?
Yeah.
It's maturity. But when you the loss of the ability to have a mistake and recover before your mistake is around the globe, literally. In the morning, it's circled the globe twice. That's a different kind of pressure.
It is.
And which again ties into that. Kids are identifying with or as somebody based on the feedback that they get from people that they'll never meet.
Never meet. You'll never know them. They'll never know you. But yet you hold such a high regard for what you perceive their opinion of you is, can be, could be, will be, possibly may turn into if they ever got a hold of this. You've already convinced yourself that this stranger,
right,
that has nothing to do with anything you have going on, have you on pins and needles about you doing or saying the right thing.
Yeah. That's wild, man. A current real-time example just popped into my mind. So Eden is my youngest daughter. She's a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
And she's in 4th grade. So she's top dog at her school, right? Because here, it's K through 4. Then where we are, there's a 5th and 6th grade school. There's a 7th and 8th grade, and then you go to high school. So she somehow she got in. Eden hasn't met a stranger.
Right.
She's doing a lot better with not letting people's. She's a super empath.
Right.
Like if you're not feeling good or you're not happy, it affects her.
Right. And
we're trying to help her manage that. But she, every day she has something to tell me. She's like, Dad, I told my friends about your podcast, and this one girl said I was lying. I said, okay, you don't have to worry about that. She was like, no, she gonna tell me that you don't have a podcast. And then when I showed her their podcast, she said, oh, well, that's not your dad.
Right.
I was like, okay, again, you don't have to, leave her to her misunderstanding. You presented the information.
Right.
So the other day she wears the Dear Son shirt to school.
Because I'm going to show you.
Because she's going to show me.
It's my dad.
And I'm like, she's really, I love the support.
Right.
But it was really bothering her that this girl wasn't connecting. And it may not even have been important to the girl. At that age, you just find stuff to say you lying. To say you lying or to exclude somebody, make somebody look different. Yep. Or, it could be some kind of trauma issues they were having at the house.
Right.
But she came home and she was like, everybody at school today called me a boy because I had on the Dead Son shirt. But she was laughing it off, which to me, I was like, oh, that's the win. Like she stood for she stood for what she was trying to communicate. But she didn't get rattled when other people, she found a way to laugh it off. And that's, to me, especially with the years that they missed due to COVID, like that social development.
Right.
That could be a big deal if a child is again struggling with identity and trying to fit in and all of that.
Right.
At such a young age.
Early.
And again, they're on the internet too. I come in like my youngest son right now, he's detached from his tablet.
Yeah.
we're trying to get clarity on this on an event that happened that nobody knows the truth to.
Yeah.
But it'd be 5 of them on FaceTime. Like all the same age and just boom, sits on the table eating, sits on the table doing whatever. Like that's how they communicate. And part of like the soft part of me is like, well, they didn't know how to. They couldn't talk to. They couldn't go see each other for a while. So that's where it developed. Right. But again, it's like that danger of always you you always being on trial for who you are.
Nonstop.
Either proving it or defending it. You know what I'm saying? That's
stop.
It definitely concerns me. And I wonder how much of how much do they pick up from the cues that they see with us as parents?
Interesting you say that. To hear you say that, it comes across to me that I think they see us move a certain way, but their level of understanding of it or what they perceive it as may not completely match up to what we're really doing. Say, for instance, let's say like you and I specifically, we go to a lot of networking events.
Yeah.
We have episodes that we go and record. We have events where it's a group or a layout and they see this.
Yep.
And they see what's going on. They see us talking to these other influential people in different areas of whatever their expertise is or their path in life is.
Mm-hmm.
And they may see that as, and kids are the biggest ear hustlers I've ever seen in my life.
Yep.
If they are in the building, they're going to pick up some of that conversation. So perhaps something they're hearing to where there are certain conversations you're having professionally that you have to discuss your resume, your credentials, what makes you a valid person to even be here in this room or this topic, or you're giving me some feedback so that we can kind of go into that or discuss that later. Or, hey, I'm looking for somebody to design XYZ. And now you're telling me, hey, this guy or myself, I do this. So now they're hearing that and they feel like that's what it takes to get you in a room with certain people. So not knowing that's in the professional realm, you have to be able to turn that switch off.
Gotcha.
A pet peeve of mine is people that I know personally don't know how to flip their switches, man. Don't bring your in here.
Yeah.
If I'm in a certain room and the door's closed, the lights different, it's dim, we're in our shirts open, and now you're still, you shouldn't be in this room with your tie all the way up to your neck. We relax, breathe.
Yeah.
But the children, they don't see that portion because all they know is this is what the lifestyle looks like and this is what they're doing. Apparently, I have to move this way in order to sustain or even obtain this lifestyle. We'll talk more about that. It's just over your head right now. It's above your pay grade.
Man, I took for granted for a long time that my kids not even so much knew what I did professionally, but more so cared. And they did, right?
Yeah.
And I did them a disservice by not discussing it sooner,
right?
Because like some of it was not me being a big deal, but some of it was some high level, was some experiences that a lot of people don't get.
True,
right? And I always credit God for what He allowed me to see in my career,
right?
But I wonder if sometimes me playing that down so much gives them a false sense of, just like what you were saying, gives them a warped reality of what it took to actually get there.
Absolutely.
Because I think my realization of going so hard in corporate that I sacrificed my family to a degree, and I kind of flipped, 180 and trying to right that ship. I'm less likely to talk about my path because in my mind, I want to separate myself from my behavior.
Right.
Not the experience.
Right.
But the behavior is like I got there, but it cost me this.
Right.
Like I don't like revisiting that, but it's something I'm working through. But
it could be necessary for them, though.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll stop them from going that extreme or choosing it or doing it that way. I can do it, just not like this.
Yeah.
Because Dad showed me and told me what that looks like, and more importantly, what that felt like to him. I have a perspective as my dad's child of what it made me feel like living it, but I had no idea Dad felt that way.
Yeah.
I thought he was cool with it. He was doing it.
Yep. Obviously,
in my mind, you're okay with it. If you're doing it, you're good with it. You're not knowing that parent, that dad, that mom could be going through agony
Yeah.
But it's just they feel like this is what's necessary.
Ooh, boy, we this thing is moving the right way. So one of the earlier conversations, well, it was a conversation with me that I had on camera.
Mm-hmm.
It's a business meeting when I'm talking about stuff. But it was about, dear son, you deserve context. And again, from our era, go over there means go over there.
Correct.
There's not a lot of explanation as to why you need to go over there. Be over there by the time I finish saying go over there, right? And we were conditioned. And there's a value to that. If you're in certain situations, when I say move, I need you to move. But again, that's context. If you have a healthy relationship and dialogue with your kids, they can kind of understand different scenarios and your tone and all of that.
Yeah.
But one thing about the I think one thing what we miss with context, even if it comes from a good place, is when we try to tell our kids not to do something based on a warped bad experience that we had.
Ooh.
Right.
Ooh.
And this is what controversial, but don't miss the message, argue the metaphor. It's a post I made, but it's relevant now.
Yeah.
So imagine if your first time drinking,
mm-hmm.
you got blasted.
Right.
You had no idea what you were doing. Maybe somebody was giving you something. Maybe somebody slipped you something. But you had a terrible experience and you never drank again in your life, right?
Right.
1 for 1, 100% of your experiences were terrible.
Right.
You grow up and tell your children, alcohol is bad.
Correct.
Alcohol is nasty, is this, is this, is this, all of these things, is all of these things. It's all of these things, and it's bad, it's terrible. And the kid gets kind of frightened into not drinking, which could be a benefit. Right? I'm not saying if you don't drink, you're wrong. If you drink, you're right. I'm not saying that. I'm just, again, metaphor. Right. At some point, the child gets away from the parent that had that experience and they get around other people that had different experience.
Right.
Maybe they have a glass of wine.
Yep.
Go home, wake up, everything's fine. Why my mom lied to me like that? My mom lied to me all these years about alcohol, or insert sex, or insert whatever the thing is that rubs you the wrong way in a very, I can't think of another word other than warp, a very unlikely manner. Like you had a 1 out of a 1 million experience, and now that's what you're projecting onto your child. Absolutely. So again, insert whatever it is, whether whatever, but whether it becomes an immediate issue with your child or not, now that child is thinking, man, why wouldn't they just tell me the truth about that?
Please.
What else?
What else did you lie to me about?
What else did you lie to me about? And now I'm thinking, the child is thinking that they don't really trust your relationship to bring something to you that might be life and death that they're going through, because they know you gave them some bad information. And again,
now your credibility
is shot, right? So it's parenting from a place of fear and projecting that fear onto our children without giving them the actual context. That might send them to the other end of the spectrum because they just didn't have your experience yet.
True.
And you didn't bother to contextualize the why of your thou shalt not, thou must not. And at some point, it's just not enough.
And to add to that, so it'll drive home even deeper, think about things that you can tell them and they hold it as gospel. Think about your perspective on a failed marriage. Think about your perspective of maybe you in your mind have convinced yourself as a parent, you're not the best parent. And so now you're talking to your kids about the struggles you perhaps had with parenthood, and you frightened this kid out of parenthood.
Right.
Man, all my parent did was complain the entire time I was a child about bills and struggle and life and sacrifice, and I can't do this, and I don't do this so I can make sure you're having a good time, and right. I don't do that so I can make sure you have clothes on your back. I don't do this so you have food to eat. Now you think you're trying to convey to them your level of love for that child and sacrifice, but the kid terrified.
Yeah.
Now they're scared to be an adult. I don't want to go out in this adult world. It's all this sacrificing and can't self-indulge, and I can't enjoy myself, and I don't have happy memories. I don't want nothing to do with it.
And I'm causing this pain on my parent.
I'm a burden to my parents. Absolutely. Be mindful of, you caught a bad example, a bad batch, a bad relationship. The other person wasn't the right person for you. Doesn't mean marriage is not for you personally, or vice versa. They can see their parent had a wonderful, wonderful marriage.
Right.
And then they like, I just can't get this thing right.
Yeah.
But they sticking it out with the wrong person, because the parents happen to end up with two people together that actually merge and mesh really, really well.
Yeah.
And was like, just didn't give up, son. We hung in there and we worked that thing out and we're so happy. Yeah. So now the child hears that, and now you're trying to force something that don't fit.
It's the expectation.
You sticking it out and bumping your head and bumping your head. I saw my parents stick it out.
Yeah.
Different scenario.
Oof.
Different scenario.
Tell me who you are, not what you do. So it's so many branches, man. So many different directions. So many not even different directions, applications of that. Because we were first talking about what was front and end and what's not front and now, but it's so relatable. Like that's the thread through a lot. And again, it's conversation, man. My kids listen to this podcast, and that 9-year-old I was talking about, she was like, I listened to your podcast. You got shot at?
Man.
It's like,
oof.
Yeah, that's the time that I told you about. That's the time I told you about. But we were able to have a conversation where it was not scary or trivial.
Right.
But I was able to say, yes, this is what happened. And I gave her enough detail that at 9 years old, or what I felt was appropriate. Mm-hmm. But it's important for me to, for my kids to know that I don't have it all figured out.
Right.
And see me adjust in real time as I'm figuring it out.
Right.
Whether that's career, whether that's identity, whether that's how to communicate. I mean, all of those things we touch on this platform. Mm-hmm. So again, it's just about having an accountable level of transparency that helps us, and as a byproduct, maybe encourages the right behavior, discourages the wrong behavior in others that come across the content.
Yep, and that's built with effective communication.
Yeah.
I was talking to a buddy of mine, man, I kid you not, just last night, about just, you have to create a new narrative with your son, right? Yeah. We get into our habits of what our day looks like, and we're kind of going through the motions. And sometimes a lot of fathers, they're busy. We're always busy because we're always living in the next, not the now. We're so busy. We want to be successful. We want to be productive. We want to be everything our family needs us to be. And sometimes what they need most is us to be present. Yeah. And so now with that, I was like, I told him, I said, man, just grab your son, go get in the car and drive. I'm going to the store. I sucked at that for a little while. And I had to catch up. Like if I'm going to the store, Dad, can I go? Nah. And then my wife asked me one day, she was like, why? Like, don't let no be your knee-jerk reaction response to everything. Yeah. Do you have a reason that they can't go? I was like, no, I guess I really don't. It's just a convenient thing. Like, I'm used to getting out, moving, knocking out what I have to do and getting on back. Slow down and enjoy the moment. Come on, boys, get in the truck. Let's go. Yep. And from then, the first few times, like I told him, the first few times we riding, I don't really have anything to say. You know? Yeah. Hey, how was your day? It's good. How was your day? It's good. All right. Ooh. So then, but the more and more that I started to take my boys with me, and we moving around and we riding. Now we talking, I look now, I find us talking about music that's playing on the radio. He's asking me who I like from their generation. I'm catching him singing stuff from my generation. Boy, what you know about that? Yeah. I like it. I like some of it. You know, y'all outdated, but some of that's good. Didn't know you felt like that.
Yeah.
So because it started happening more frequently, I felt like we started to talk more and engage more, even the littles, my younger sons. So now that turned into, I was focused more, even guilty with my sons, what you do, you know, their sports, their activities. If I'm talking to them, they automatically start talking to me about what they do as opposed to who they are, which is the topic. Tell me who you are, not what you do. Yeah. But we as parents, we focus so much on what our children do that we're not trying to cultivate. We're not teaching them and encouraging them to just yourself.
Yeah.
That's great you play sports. What do you do? What do you like? Are you into building things? Are you into fixing things? Are you into reading?
Yeah. What moves you?
Right.
What moves you? What rattles you? I think as you were saying, I was just, again, this big transparency. I find myself literally writing and thinking, what should I say?
Man, I'm telling you.
It's like, I don't know how to break the ice with my son. Like, why is there ice to break? That's why it's ice to break.
That's so real.
It's getting better now, but even this whole default or not a cop out condition of men sometimes not knowing how to use their words.
Ooh.
Right?
Ooh.
Silence is better. I think sometimes silence is like, I'm not a scream. If I'm screaming, like there's likely some physical activity coming.
Yeah.
And that's not even rough, tough guy. it's not me.
Right.
So it's like, if any of my, like even you now, like any of my brothers, you know, not by blood, but by relationship, if they see me getting a certain way, like, yo, D,
something wrong.
D don't bother no. He's like, right. D don't bother nobody. He don't
exactly.
He'd be the first one to like, yo, we probably shouldn't. It's probably not gonna end well.
Right.
I'm gonna cool out, like, cause he thinks like that. But sometimes, I think I know I've taken it too far.
Yeah.
Was like, well, I think I'm processing my thoughts. Well, they don't know that.
Right.
If my if my wife, who is several years more mature than they are,
right,
cannot understand it, not as a fault of her, but another adult is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You can't expect a child to see that behavior, one, and understand it, and two, not mimic it.
Not mimic it.
Right. So now we're sending them down. We passing the baton the wrong way.
Right.
And I that's something that I am working to be more mindful of. Stop leaving that dead space.
Because that's what it is.
Dead space. How you doing? Like you said, how was school? Good. What does that mean? It was all right.
Because that's all we got. I even now, even with youngsters, period, not just my sons, but young people, period, it depends on their personality. Now, if they're already a talkative kid, the work is done.
Right.
But if they're, reserved, quiet, introvert, it's like pulling teeth. So I find myself trying to think of ways of, what can I say to this kid that they absolutely cannot answer me with one word?
Right.
And so it's a trick.
Yeah.
But you find yourself doing that with your own kids. Yeah. And like you said, you're asking yourself, man, why I got to think of something to say to my kid? But it's a reality. Yeah. Women, we're letting you see what's on men's mind. This is this show often is a direct peek, even more so than a peek. It's a gander. it's a stare into the mind of men. Yeah. It's untouched. Men typically up to now in this generation, we didn't sit around and just be able to convey to women Yeah. This is how I feel. This is what I'm thinking. This is what I have problems with. This is what I struggle with. How many men want to tell people what they struggle with?
Or each
Superman.
other.
Right.
Yeah, or each other.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes these conversations, as intentional as this podcast is or this show is, teaches me something about me.
Man.
That I'm not, and again, this is not about expertise.
Right.
This is about experience and how to leverage. I think wisdom is leveraging other people's experiences to have to affect the best outcome.
So you don't have to go bump your head. I'll take your knots.
Absolutely.
Let me get the lessons from your knots so I don't have to have that many knots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, my brother. Let's another excellent conversation, man. I feel like this is gonna be a productive approach.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Mind your business if you saw us wearing this in another episode. I didn't think that through all the way.
Yeah.
I didn't think that through all the way.
Bringing 2 shirts next time. Don't worry about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything in closing?
No, that's it, man. Just be positive. Pay attention. Focus. I know this was a pretty light episode, but not to date the episode, I just recently lost my nephew in my hometown of Shreveport. He actually was murdered. 18 years old. Just graduated high school summer of 2022. And here we are at the beginning of 23-ish, depending on when you guys see this episode. Yeah. And so life was just getting ramped up. Just enrolled into college. He was leaving the next day to go back to college for the semester and was going into nursing. He was going to be a nurse. He walked away from sports, walked away from athletic scholarships. So that was huge that he was taking a step in that direction. Yep. We didn't understand it, but we supported it.
Right.
So now he's not here. So I'm every year things are happening in my family that are redirecting my focus. And I'm trying to live in the moment more. Money's going to be there. Life comes quick, fast. Today, I'll talk to you Monday. Nope. Call them right now. And that, I know that's cliche now, but like seriously, call them now.
Yep.
Yeah. That's all I got.
Man, condolences to your family. Of course, here for anything you need, my brother. I don't want to erode that sentiment as we close. So we appreciate you guys. God bless you. Peace.
They tried to count me out. I'ma gon' count me in. Fill up my bank account. Now I got something to spend. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I just pull it out and count for nothing when I'm feeling great. Give my baby little more.